pause for a moment and consider this. Every aspect of our world today, from the skyscrapers towering above to the smartphones in our hands, from the laws that govern our societies to the cultural norms we live by. It's a story written by history. These elements define us as individuals, shape our society, and mold our collective human experience. They are not mere coincidences. We are the fruit of countless decisions, desires, and events from other human beings. We are the product of millions of years of development, from cosmology to nature. The story of the cosmos, Earth, species, and our own history as humans leads us to a more genuine understanding of our present and the true depth of our existence, unlocking insights into our future. It's fascinating how history shapes every breath we take and every step we make. This is human history. And this is the 21st century. What is the difference here? We often view the first as mere stories, almost detached from our human nature, as if watching a movie rather than reality. But the second, we see it as our present reality. However, we are missing the whole point. We judge people from the past eras through today's lens, labeling them as ignorant, foolish, barbaric, or angelic. Yet, we overlook a crucial fact. The same patterns are unfolding today. Humans have always harbored the same desires for conquest and exploration as our ancestors. Our behaviors haven't fundamentally changed. There is no real difference in human motivation, whether it's waging wars, committing genocides in the name of certain beliefs, or creating new inventions and technologies. All these actions are driven by the same force, desire. We judge history with the eyes of today's world, as if we are sitting on a metaphysical chair, pointing at past events and people, declaring what's good and bad in other epochs, and trusting or worry with the strangers that we will never meet or know. But this is a grand illusion. It's like blaming the past for not being the present, or blaming a human being for who we are. In reality, each of us, as individuals and collectively, are fruits of our epoch. Our ideas, values, and behaviors are shaped because we are historical beings. We didn't emerge out of thin air or make a giant leap across history as if we don't belong to the past. We are the consequences of other human beings' desires, accomplishment, motivations, and selfish decisions. We have no real insights into how they lived their lives, how they perceived the world, what they valued, or what they thought in their innermost selves, and importantly, why they did what they did. This is true for today as well. We don't truly know what goes in the minds of others, especially those who are changing the world with their actions and ideas.
history is more relevant than ever before. Because history is not really the study of the past. History is the study of change. The curse of history is that people have this fantasy of changing the past. A lot of things that people think are just natural, this is the way the world is, this is biology, this is physics, they are not. They are actually the result of historical processes. And this is why it's so important to understand history.
We have a tendency to look at the events of today as if they are different from the past, as if they are something new happening, as if they are special. It's as though they are detached from reality, from our humanity, and from how nature works and how nature has built us. This reflects in our judgment, in our way of seeing events and political leaders, and people holding power as either evil or good. But we forget that what's happening today, or in this small period of our existence, if we are lucky, around 80 years, will be just one line in the history of the earth, one word in the history of the universe, and one paragraph in the history of Homo sapiens sapiens, which means us. Reflect on the era of Christopher Columbus, often credited with discovering America. His quest to find a new route to India for the spice trade, to avoid Ottoman territories, was a product of the era's tensions between Christians and Muslims. Columbus' voyages led to the discovery of new lands, but they also triggered a cascade of significant events: colonization, slavery, genocide, segregation, and the formation of nations like Canada and the US, ultimately contributing to the creation of wealth in the Western world. These developments, born from a desire for trade and wealth 5 centuries ago, spurred technological advancement in shipbuilding and navigation. This advancement in turn heightened tensions in Europe and other parts of the world, leading to major global conflicts and events such as World War II, the Cold War, the creation of the State of Israel, the Vietnam War, the colonization of Africa, the rise of Al-Qaeda, the 2008 financial crisis, the moon landing, the advent of the internet, globalization, social media, and the development of artificial intelligence. At the same time in China, the explorer Zheng He was undertaking voyages to islands, Africa, and India. However, his expeditions were curtailed when the supportive Ming Emperor died. The subsequent emperors, less convinced of the value of these voyages, adopted a more frugal and traditional stance. Expeditions ceased, maps and documents were destroyed, and Zheng He's legacy was overshadowed by a return to conservatism. What if Zheng He's explorations had continued? What if they had been supported? The course of history might have been very different, but that didn't happen. And today's world is shaped by these historical choices and their far-reaching consequences. These examples help us grasp the complexity of a human history. They are the consequences of a human actions and ideas, and need to be understood through the perspective of the people living in that period, not through our modern eyes. With this understanding, we don't see history merely as a collection of events, dates, names, and facts of studies, but as a meaningful and logical progression that unfolds over time. This applies to all historical figures and periods in our history. The education system in many countries around the world is designed with specific goals in mind. It aims to unify thinking, encourage obedience, and instill a common narrative in us from a young age. These systems often drives us to participate in wars under the banner of nationalism, work tirelessly in the name of economic growth, accept historical narratives about people we have never met, surrendering our fundamental freedoms in the name of technological progress to a well-educated elite. It conditions us to conform to the norms of the present world, often at the expense of a comprehensive understanding of a human history and the reality of the present. Consequently, it's rare to find people who actively read, question, or doubt historical events, like the rise and fall of civilizations, the expansion of empires, economic crashes, or the creation of nations. Challenging these narratives could free us from emotional ties to specific stories that keep us obedient to the system that shapes us. Commonly accepted ideas in society are often narratives instilled in us from a young age, not necessarily factual histories or conclusions drawn from our individual research. These narratives can be tools for government, politicians, and power holders to create stories where certain texts, biographies, wars, genocides are normalized or beyond doubt, even when they may seem illogical. We often seek answers that reassure us of our correctness, as admitting error could mean our entire education, childhood, and belief system are based on a flawed historical narrative. History is the only tool that can free us from emotional biases and help us see reality as it truly is. It's more than just studying events. It's about understanding the deeper meanings behind these events. Behind every group of people, there are values and ideas, and behind every idea, there is a human being. Recognizing this gives us a kind of superpower. It allows us to view the world and its history as a continuous narrative linked to humanity as a whole, rather than just to the specific group we identify with. This understanding is crucial, as it helps us see beyond the narrow narratives we are often presented with and appreciate the broader, more complex story of a human existence. We begin to believe in the story presented to us, and everyone starts to think it's the truth. This belief gives confidence to the system that created us through the educational system. To build a country with loyal citizens, the government implements an educational system where the history taught, especially at a young age, focuses on the country's history and its place in the world. This narrative is often imbued with emotions and the sense of belonging. If the educational system were to diverge from this path, it might produce individuals who don't align with the government's desired values and beliefs. As we were children, we grow up and step into society. We saw that everyone around us shares the same ideas, reinforcing the belief that these ideas must be true.
$2,000 the Roman Empire, 2,000 years ago. Like, that's so long. Human history has been going on for over 2,000 centuries. It's hard to wrap your head around. There's been people like us that have emotions like us, that have physical sensations like us for so long. And who are they all? And what was their life like? I think we have no idea what it was like to be them. The thing that's craziest about the people of the far past is not just that they had different lives, they had different fears, they had different dangers and different responsibilities, and they lived in tribes, but they didn't know anything. We just take it for granted that we're born on top of this tower of knowledge, and from the very beginning, we know that the Earth is a ball floating in space, and we know that we're going to die one day, and we know that we evolved from animals. Those were all like incredible epiphanies quite recently, and the people a long time ago, they just had no idea what was going on.
The history of humanity is a complex and intricate tapestry, filled with the stories and developments that span across ages. Many brilliant minds have attempted to offer fresh perspectives on our species' journey, helping us understand how our behaviors have remained consistent over time. When we delve in history, from the origins of the universe, to the evolution of our planet, to the rise and fall of civilizations, we began to liberate ourselves from traditional viewpoints that divide the world into us versus them, good versus bad. This fixed perspective often blinds us to the broader narrative of a human societal development, from our hunter-gatherer ancestors to the era of globalization. Our history is nothing short of fascinating. It encompasses the evolution of myths and religions, from paganism, polytheism to monotheism, which have shaped morals, belief, and civilization. We see the progression of culture, art, and innovation, from discovery of fire to the advent of electricity, from the ancient cave painting of Lascaux to the modern marvels of Neuralink, from the concept of the soul to the realm of data. The sublime architecture, painting, stories, laws, and ethics throughout history have profoundly influenced our world. Our journey from navigating rivers to exploring space, our discoveries that reach beyond stars and galaxies, our maps, our cuisines, our perceptions of time and space, our society, economies, and science, all demonstrated an extraordinary evolution over time. This metamorphosis continues to shape us, and we are far from finished. We also face the daunting challenges of environmental destruction, the erosion of our intelligence, and the loss of our spiritual essence. From the complex system of our brains to the depth of black holes, In our modern world, surrounded by electricity, communication technologies, transportation, iron, and concrete, we often feel disconnected from the reality of our bodies and our nature as humans. Yet, our brains and behaviors remain fundamentally unchanged. Everything existing today has a long history. Nothing emerged from an unknown place. However, the stories we believe in are often not based on reality but on belief, like money and God. Every civilization has its place in the world, and it's crucial to accept, live with, understand, and learn from its flaws to avoid repeating the mistakes of our ancestors or contemporaries. History is often written by the victors. The Romans wrote history after winning the Punic War against the Carthaginians. Muslims chronicled their victories against the Sassanid dynasty and the Byzantine Empire. The USSR documented its revolution against the Tsar. The US marked its place in history with the end of World War II. Diving into history liberates us from emotional ties and the biases of choosing sides in a narrative where our ancestors acted without our consent. It's our responsibility to separate the truth from falsehood, not to be blinded by the complexity of a human history. Our responsibility in understanding history lies not in a judgment but in comprehending the meaning behind the actions of those who lived in the past eras. We must acknowledge that we lack complete insights into the motivations, goals, and thoughts of historical figures. Avoiding the emotional traps that can skew our rational thinking is essential, especially in matters where we were not present or did not participate. History allows us to view humanity's journey on an equal footing, recognizing the contributions and experiences of all people and civilizations. However, this neutral stance does not preclude us from advocating for justice and the rights of various people, ethnicities, and cultures. It also involves acknowledging our identity and culture to understand ourselves more deeply on a societal and anthropological level, offering insights into our collective human condition. Our responsibility towards history is crucial in acknowledging as a continuum of human endeavors. Many of us forget that we are living in the history of tomorrow. The events we experience today will be summarized in the 21st century history books, just like any other ancient events. In our current era, the distinction between reality and virtuality blurs because we often fail to see history as a study of change in human behavior and conditions. The invention of technologies like satellites, TV, internet, and social media has disconnected people from their nature and the world's nature, which remained constant for millions of years. This disconnection stems from our egocentric view of the world and our denial of history as a whole, leading us to forget our ancestors just as a future generation may forget about us. This forgetfulness is partly due to human laziness and our reluctance to engage deeply and meaningfully with our past. We find it easier to judge the past based on our belief system and assume that today's events are anomalies. This is because reading and understanding history require more effort than simply watching the news and jumping to conclusions. Nowadays, we struggle to differentiate between culture and nature, a problem stemming from our disinterest in history and the belief that current events are unrelated to the long march of our species throughout history. History is also a key to envisioning the future. Humans are predictable to an extent. We often repeat the same patterns because groups or the masses are the engines of history. In groups, people tend to think more emotionally than rationally. History tends to be written by the winners rather than the losers. As the great historian and founder of sociology Ibn Khaldun said, history on the surface is mere narration, but at its core, it involves analysis and investigation. Thank you for watching the video until the end. I hope you enjoyed the experience. History is essential in looking at the world as a continuum, not just as a news. It only takes small actions to change the course of history. If you liked the video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. If there is any comment, feel free to leave it below. If you want to watch my previous videos, you can click here. I am Hamdi Maluli, and I will see you next time.